Can you remember the first time you met me? Because I do think I remember the first time I met you, and you probably don't remember this.
I may not remember if it's in the newspaper. I know we met at Fox
Yeah,
in the late '90s. I can tell you that. I know that we were together on with Jim Rome and his show, The Last Word. I remember all of that.
that's
And
where it started.
yeah,
Yep.
that's where it really started. That's where I'm sure we ran across one another in the past. I was writing for the New York Daily News, a high school reporter, and then the Philadelphia Inquirer. Obviously, you had been everywhere. You was in LA, you was in
Hmm.
Chicago, you was in Dallas.
Yep.
I forget where you were at that particular moment in time, but you were definitely making inroads into the world of television, doing sports reporters and other things. And you were making a big name for yourself. And we ran across each other, and they put us on the air together, and we went at each other straight up from day one.
Straight
But
up.
we didn't have a problem. We were like, "Hey, that was a great segment." After it was over, and that's what
Yeah.
basically was the start of us.
So I first was introduced to you in the Chicago Bulls United Center media room. I think it was
Yeah.
1999. You were covering the Sixers. Jordan had retired in
Mhm.
98.
Right.
I went out that night only to see your man Allen Iverson play at the
Yeah.
United Center because the Bulls were horrible.
Yeah.
And a sports editor by the name of Dan McGrath at the
Yes,
Chicago
sir.
Tribune, where I worked, introduced me just briefly in passing to you
Yep.
in the media room.
Mhm.
And I was immediately impressed because you were suited and booted. You were maybe the only reporter that I knew, certainly beat reporter covering a nightly, daily basketball team,
Mhm.
who wore a coat and tie to games. And I was highly impressed with that. And I believe you later told me, or maybe it came out on the air when we had Larry Brown on, that Larry pushed you to go upgrade your wardrobe to
Yep.
cover the team so that you would create more respect in the locker room, right?
Well, it wasn't so much that because the respect was already there. What it was is that I used to admire. I thought that Larry Brown, Pat Riley, Chuck Daly, God rest his soul. I thought they were the best dressed coaches in the
Yep.
business. I mean, they just came suited and booted every single game.
Yep.
They were dressed to the nines, and I remember I was looking at Larry and admiring his suits and stuff, and he had pushed me to upgrade. And then Billy King was his VP of basketball administration at the time because Larry Brown had just arrived a couple of years earlier before he was promoted to GM. And Billy King was a sharp dresser in his own right, and he would tease me about it. And Aaron McKee, they called, nickname Blue. Everybody called him Blue because he always was wearing something blue suits and all this stuff. And Aaron McKee is one of the best dressed dudes in the NBA. He was sharp as a tack.
Mm.
And so I saw Larry Brown wearing these like suede shoes one time with a suit. And I was like, what's that, coach? And I said, I'm going to go to the mall and get me a pair of shoes. And I drove down to King of Prussia because Pat Croce was the president of the 76ers at the time. And I went to King of Prussia
Mm.
and I came strolling down the stairs and there was somebody there at the bottom of of the staircase.
Hmm.
And I was getting ready to ask him a question. Where's the shoe department? He said, Stephen A. And the guy says, I'm such and such. Pat Croce and Larry Brown told us to expect you. I said,
Ah.
excuse me? And they said, here's a bunch of shoes. And I was like, what? And I
Mm.
looked at it and I said, okay. And so I was like, how much does this stuff cost? And it was shoes like $500, $600. I'm like, what? I'm not paying that money. That's too expensive. What the hell? I don't make that kind of money. And the salesman said, they said you would say that. And they told me to tell you, dress for where you want to go,
Mm.
not where you are. And I remember that I had had
Bingo.
family members that had told me that before in the past, and I said, "Damn it, I really gotta, I gotta pay this money." And man, I wasn't making that kind of money, but
Yep.
I dropped it on those shoes, and before long, the suit game followed, and everything else came about.
Good. It worked.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it
Right?
did. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned what Lebitard said to you. He also asked me on air about this, that you and I, from a period of about 2011 to 2016, ruined the television sports business. What was your response to that?
I told him, what the hell is he absolving himself from it for? I said, you want to talk about me and Skip? What about you? You
Yep.
had strong opinions, Levitard. You sat up there and clowned around. You did a whole bunch of stuff. Why you acting like it was us? You know,
Mhm.
and it really bothered me, when he said that because I listen, for better or worse, shoot, I think you could be hyperbolic. I think you could be crazy half the time. You know how I am with you. But
Mhm.
I've always acknowledged the man mean what he says now. And I always tell a story of when you and I used to do old school, new school on Sunday
Yep.
mornings with the great
Yep.
Bob Lee. And I
Mhm.
said we were both in a bureau cam in New York City. And I said, Skip knows this story. Skip will tell you, he'll nod his head in affirmation. He knows I'm telling the truth. And I forgot what had happened. And Skip comes on national television and says, there should be an 11 o'clock curfew for athletes. Athletes shouldn't be allowed outside after 11 o'clock. And I said,
12. I
what?
think I said 12, but go
It was
ahead.
11.
Yeah.
It was
All right.
11,
All right.
Skip Bayless.
All
Trust
right.
me,
You
I'll
got
never
me.
forget the
All
story.
right.
And you said 11 o'clock. And I started screaming, how old are you, Skip? How old are you? So I'm sitting there and we're going back and forth, and Bob Lee is having a blast. And I come out, we both come out of our respective bureau cams, and I
Yep.
looked at you and I said, that was some great television, man. That was really hilarious. The way I said, that was good for you to say, man, that's a good thing. And you looked around, and then you looked at me and you said, I'm serious.
Serious.
Nothing good that
Dead
happens for an
serious.
athlete after 11 o'clock. And I tell
Dead serious.
everybody that story because I say that's when I knew
Yeah.
that's Skip Bayless. He's not playing. He means this stuff. He ain't laughing. He's not joking. He really, really means this stuff. And I said, and that's when I knew that if we were ever on television together, we would win because I knew we thought nothing alike. And in the years to follow, as I've had different partners and different responsibilities and all of that
Yep.
other stuff, I've
Yep.
always told people working with Skip Bayless every day, understand that took a load off me. Like I can go out to the West Coast for an NBA Finals. I don't have to be at the morning meeting. Skip can. I said I was usually there, but I said I didn't have to be. If I needed mornings off, Skip had it
Absolutely.
because he knew exactly what would
I
work. And
knew.
he knew I'll touch this subject. There's no way Stephen A is going to agree with this. I'll touch that subject. There's no way Stephen A is going to agree with it. I said
Yep.
he knew instinctually. You didn't have to ask. He knew, and that's what made us us.